This presentation replaces the lecture for November 14th, 2017. What I want to do today is I want to cover how to make a hierarchy in graphics. The way a hierarchy works is you have two objects. One object that you create, it could be a sphere or a cylinder or anything, you call the parent. And the other object you create, another object you call the child. It could be any of the various shapes we have. But the way hierarchy works is we take the parent and we add the child to it. So what happens is from then on, whatever you do to the parent, if you rotate it, the child goes with it. If you move it, the child goes with it. So in other words, once you've added one object to another object, whatever happens to the parent object, the child object has to do the same thing. The child can move on its own, though. It actually can move around. Think of it like the Earth and the Sun. The Sun is like the parent, and the Earth is revolving around the Sun. And if the Sun moves a little bit, the Earth will go with it. Wherever it moves around, the Earth will continue to revolve around it. But the Earth itself can also spin on its own axis. So therefore, it has its own little thing that it does. But the Sun, it still operates within the framework of whatever the Sun does, goes along with it. So that parent-child thing is something that's very handy in graphics. And I want to show you how to do it. If you look online to our website, you'll see that there's a Dutch door, a program with a Dutch door, where you click on the door and it opens. That couldn't have done that without having hierarchy. And the reason why is because if I wanted that door to rotate, how would I rotate the door? If I say rotate, it'll spin right in the middle, which is not the way I want it to happen. What you want a door to do is to spin on its side. You want the side of the door to be locked down and the other end of the door to swing. So in order to do that, what I did was I created hinges, and each hinge is a parent, and the doors are child. So in other words, the parent is a little cylinder that rotates, and the child, which is the door, is attached to it. So when the hinge rotates, the door goes with it. And that works correctly, okay? So, but there's lots of things that this parent-child thing works with. And I'd like to show you the principle of it and create a little program that will show you how it works, okay? To begin with, let's look at the program itself. Here's a program that already has it in it. In this case, what you have is a cylinder, and the cylinder's right there. And that cylinder can be rotated. If I hold down the letter A, it can be rotated. Notice that the box goes around with it, okay? That means that they're parent and child. Now I can take this child and I can rotate it by just hitting the letter B. I hit the letter A to rotate this one. I'm hitting the letter B to rotate this one. So you can see it can act independently, but when the parent moves, the child moves with it. And that's the principle of the thing. So let me show you how I'm going to set this program up in order to make that happen. Little diagrams here. When you create a cylinder, the first step right here is we create a cylinder. It's going to be vertical, just like this. Its y-axis is down, the x is this way, and the z-axis comes towards us. Okay. When I create this box, I'm going to create a box in the second stage here. This box is going to be 80 in this direction and shorter in these other two directions. And when I create it, it's created in the center also. They're both created in the center of the universe that we're working in. That's the first step in the thing. The second step is I'm going to then add this box to this cylinder so that whatever happens to the cylinder will happen to the box. This becomes the parent, this becomes the child. And now they're both locked together. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the parent over the x-axis. And it's going to go from this position to this position. And the box is still going to be there. Finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the box to move down the x-axis until it's in this position right here. The distance it has to move is half its own length plus 1 radius. And when it moves that far, it's going to find itself right here attached. And that's exactly what you saw in the previous program. The cylinder was here and the box was here. Okay? So now let's do that, and that'll set the thing up so that you'll see it in the proper positions. and then we'll make the thing rotate. We'll start there. Step number 1, I have to go to Wall Maker. The Wall Maker here. Like so. And what I have to do, I'm not going to draw any walls. What I simply want to do is 2 things. Well, I'm going to raise the roof height a little bit. I'm going to raise it up to, like, let's make it 800. It's going to be pretty tall. And I'm going to make the texture. I'll bring in a floor texture, same old one I always use, wood floor.jpg, and I'll use the same one for the roof. So, and that's it. That's all I want to do in this program. I'm not going to make any walls, so I generate the code, click in here, all, select all, copy it, close it. Now I go back to Notepad, and in Notepad I bring it in. Now it's in my computer. So I save the thing. I'm going to give it a name. I'll put it on the desktop here, and I'm going to give it the name November 14th. No, let's say NOV14. Make it short. .html. That's our lecture for November 14th. And all files and save, and there it is. So now we have the program ready to go. Let me run it. Oh, one more thing I want to do before I run it. If I run the program now, the camera will be created in the middle of the world, and that's where our objects are going to be created also. So therefore, we won't be able to see them unless we back up. So what I want to do is I'm going to start the program with the camera already backed up away from the center, so we can look at the center from where we are. Now that's what happens in this position right here. Everything that's involved with the camera happens in this position. Okay. First thing, I can turn the camera left or right by changing that 0 to something, in which case the camera will look to the left or to the right. And total X, I can move the camera to some X position that I want it at. And total Z means I can move it to some Z position. And elevation means I can move it to some Y position. So what I want to do, I want to come forward towards the front of the thing more. So I'm going to set that at 270. 270. What that means is, instead of being in the middle, the camera's going to back up. It's going to be closer to the front of the scene. Okay. So I'm going to save it just to see what we have already done so far. Wrong program. Hang on. That's the running program. Let's run this one here. There's what we have. Can't back up anymore, but there's the floor, there's the ceiling, plenty of open space there between. Okay. So now what we want to do is, I want to create. I didn't want to have anything clutter up the thing. So what I want to do is, I want to now create the cylinder right here. That's the first step. Just like in the program we talked about, the diagrams I talked about. Okay, so there's the floor and there's the roof. Now I'm going to come down a little bit. I'm going to create scene, script, variable. I'm going to call the cylinder the parent. I'm just going to give it that name. As a cylinder. And I want to be sure I consistently with my sizes, so when you see this thing online, it'll look exactly the same. So I want to be sure I save it with the same sizes of everything. So let me just look what I have here in my current program. Okay, the cylinder is got a radius is 30, palm of 30, and it has a height of 30. There it is right there. That's all the things. It has a 32 here, and then it has a picture on it that I called doilies. It looks like this, doilies.jpg, something I found on the web. There it is. So what I've done is I have now brought in the cylinder. Now it's called parent. I got to go up into the rendering function and create the positioning of it. So I call it parent. dot, it's a tube, the cylinder, dot position, dot x equals 0. They'll start off with 0 just to get it in position there. So what I do is I say OK. And, I'm going to create these by copying everything. Y, Z, Y, Z, and this is called rotation right here. I think this is right. Looks okay. So I'm going to save this thing and see what we got. So I'm going to see what it looks like at this point. There it is. There's the cylinder. I'm going to go up a little bit here, take a look at it. There it is. That's the cylinder we want. And that's, now you see how it's created. It's created like a can, upright, like a can. The problem with that is that what I want to do is I want it to be rolling like a ball, like a wheel. So therefore I've got to rotate this thing over the x-axis. But before I do that, I'm going to add in the box. I'm going to add that in too. So they'll both be, just like we did in the diagrams, they'll both be there. So the next step is create the box. So here we go. Down here, I have to create the child. That's what I call the box. And it's a text cube is the kind of object it is. And it's 80 in the x direction. It's long in the x direction. And it's 20 and 20 in the y and z direction. And I put a picture on it called Greybets. T-E-S dot JPG. Now, because of the fact this is a cube, it's got 6 sides, so I have to put this down 6 times, okay? So that's the first time right there. I'm just going to copy it to repeat, because it's the same color on all sides. So I just, there I got 2 of them now. 3, 4, 5, 6. And there it is. That's the end of it. Stop this, hit that, and slash script. So now what I've done is I've created the box, except now I have to go into rendering and tell it where to put the box. So what I do is, let me just put the child in here. It's called child. And in this case, it's a text cube. That's what its type is. Position dot x equals 0. Now all I have to do is copy this 5 more times. And make these changes. Y, Z, Y, Z, and changes to rotation. There it is. It's all set. Now, when I run this thing, I should see the box as well as the wheel. There's the box, there's the wheel. Let's take a look. We'll go up a little bit. Take a look at it. There it is. That's what it looks like right there. So we have the cylinder, except it's still on its side. We want to put it vertically. And this is the way it's created, so we have to rotate it over the x-axis to put it in the right position. And this guy's already in position. And it's wherever the cylinder goes, this is going to go too. So when the cylinder rotates, that's going to rotate too, same way. So now what I want to do is, the next step in the thing is to, let me bring the diagram back here. This is where we're at right now. We've created both of them. Now I have to rotate the cylinder over the x-axis to get it in this position. So that's the next thing I want to do right there. So, do is go back. The parent's right here. The parent is right here. And before I do that, I want to lock them both together with an add. That's what we haven't done yet. We have the parent, we have the child, and now I have to put them both together with an add, and then I'm going to rotate them. Here's how you do that. You say script and you give it the parent's name, and it's a 2. You got to put that in there. Dot add. And you say, what do you want to add to the parent? You want to add the child. This guy called child, who is a text cube. There it is. And what that does, slash script, you should have put that part in there. It won't work. Whoops. Script. Okay. There it is. So now what I've done is I created a parent, I created a child, and now I locked them together. Now they are both locked together as one. Next thing I want to do is I want to rotate the parent over the x-axis so it'll be oriented correctly. Okay? So I go back up here to the parent right here, and I'm going to rotate the parent rotation right here over the x-axis, and I want to rotate it 90 degrees. And in radians, 90 degrees is math dot capital Pi divided by 2. Remember, in radians, pi is a straight line, so pi over 2 is a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to do that, and that should do it. That'll create this situation right here. Okay? So let's run the program and see what happens. And let's see if I did it. I actually did it here. No, it hasn't changed. Okay, let's see what happened. Why it didn't rotate. Pi over 2. I'm sure the add is correct down here. Script parent.2.add child.textcube. That's correct. Here I said we'll rotate the parent over the x-axis. And if that pi over 2 is correct, let me save that again and try it again, see what happens. There, it's correct. So let's take a look at it. I'm going to go up a little bit and take a look down at it and see what it looks like. Basically, what we have here is this like a wheel now, made like a wheel. The only problem is this guy here has to be now pushed to the left, like in the diagrams. It rotated with the wheel when we rotated it up. Now remember one thing, this right here, the line that comes out of here, pointing towards us now, is the y-axis, because originally it was created like a can vertically, and it only thinks of the axis the way it always thinks of it. Just like down to us, no matter what really is down to us is when we look down at our feet. Even if we're upside down, we look down at our feet, we're looking down. This thing always will believe this is the y direction. So remember that. That's the y-axis right there. The x-axis is still here. Nothing's changed with that. They both rotated over it, but that's still the x-axis. So next thing I want to do is I want to move this box out to this edge out here, so it'll be right along the edge of the cylinder. Okay? To do that, I have to move the box in the x direction. And how far do I move it is the question. Well, you have to move it one radius, which is 30, plus half the width of the thing. Which if you figure it out, you'll figure out that's what it has to be. So it's going to be 40 plus 30. So you're going to move it 70 in the negative x direction to get it in the right position. I'm just going to slide it along the x-axis. I have to get it out from underneath the cylinder. Okay, so 70 is the magic number. And what I want to do is I want to move the child, position it minus 70. That's it right there. That should put it in the right position. Let's check to see what happens. Now it's in the right position. If I go forward, take a look at it here, go up a little bit, you can see that it's in the right position. Okay. So basically now, when I want to rotate the cylinder, I want this to go with it. That's now that they're attached together, that will happen. If I can rotate the cylinder, is connected to it. It's going to go with it. Okay. So now let's make that happen. What I want to do is use the 65A. I want to use the letter A, the letter A, to turn. As I press it down, I want it to turn the parent. Okay, I want it to rotate it over its y-axis, which is now pointed towards us. So here's what I do. I'm going to create this little system here. You'll see how it works. Step number one, I have to have two variables. One variable, I'll call it rote parent. Keeps track of the rotation of the parent, and then I'll have a rote child, which will keep track of the rotation of the child. They're both two different numbers, because when this guy rotates, this guy goes with him. But this guy can rotate on its own too. Okay? So therefore, I have to have two variables to tell me what's going to happen to both of these guys. Next thing I have to do is I have to go to where the keystrokes come in. Okay, where is that? You see this thing that says function key hit right here? Notice it opens with a parentheses. I'm going to get into that back of that parentheses. I've got to get by the parentheses. In other words, be sure you leave that parenthesis. That's not a parenthesis. It's a brace. Be sure you leave that brace there. Don't push it down. You got to leave it right there. Then put your two if statements in here. You say, well, if, in this case, if I hit the letter 65, the letter A, so I want to know if the keystroke equals two equal signs 65. That means I hit the letter A. And if I hit the letter A, what I want to do is I want the rote parent, I think I called it that. Let me be sure I called it that. Yeah, rote parent to be plus equals 0.1 semicolon return. I'll tell you what this is in a second here. Let me just get it down. Okay, here's what this does. Row parent was 0 to start with. See, it's a 0 right there. So what I did is I said, okay, if I hit 65, it's going to jump over here, and it's going to add 0.1 to row parent right here. Now what I have to do is I have to go down into the function, into the render function, and I have to tell the parent to rotate over its y-axis that amount. See the parent tube right here? Rotation right there. I have to say, I want to rotate by rote parent amount. So in other words, what happens is when you hit the A key, it changes the value of rote parent, and then that changes the rotation of the thing. So let me run it and see what happens. See if I can make it happen here. There it is. Now if I hit the letter A, there it goes. And notice the child goes with it. Okay? But I can't move the child yet because I haven't set it up to do it. But let me make the child rotate now. But I hope that part is clear so far. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with back up at the top here. I'm going to deal with rote child. Right here I said, well, if I hit 65, have rote parent change. Supposing I use the letter B, which is 66, to rotate the child. So I'm just going to copy this, and then I make some changes in it. Copy, but it's almost the same code. I go like so, and I say if it's 66, that's a B. And if you hit the B, I want you to rotate the child. And now I have to decide what axis to rotate the child around. Well, seeing as it's sticking out to the top, left over there, I'm going to rotate it around the x-axis, which is just going to rotate it on its x-axis. So right here I got the child. Where's the rotation? I want to rotate it right here, rote child. So it'll rotate around the x-axis. Let's take a crack at it and see what happens. There it is. If I hit the letter A, it rotates the parent. If I hit the letter B, it just rotates the child. Does that make sense? A makes it all go, B makes just the child go. And that's pretty much it. That's how it works. And we have other programs. I'll demonstrate other programs that use this. There are several. There are three of them, I believe, on today's November 14th. So therefore, this is it, and I hope this explains everything for you, to you. Okay.